Hello, and welcome to Weekend Wisdom. I'm Tracy Whitney, the content director for Creating a Family, and the host for this conversation today. Today's question comes from a listener named Tabitha. You might remember that earlier this year, Tabitha asked us a question about her son's adoption closing on the birth parent's side of the relationship. They had hoped for at least some contact, but it appears that is not possible at this time. Since then, Tabitha has also learned that her baby boy has siblings who live with extended family or have been adopted by other families. She has little to no information about the birth parents and now little to no information about the siblings' families or the siblings and her child's extended family. So she asks us, how do we handle questions that will arise when our baby is older with so little information? We seem to be a rarity these days, with a closed adoption not of our choosing. I definitely respect birth moms' choices, but I know questions will pop up on our little one's end way down the road. So, Tabitha, I really appreciate that you asked this follow-up question because you're naming something that a lot of domestic infant adoption families experience, but don't always know how to talk about. And that is a closed adoption when it wasn't what you hoped for and it wasn't your choice. It's hard to manage all of the feelings around of that, but you are, by all accounts, sounding as if you are respecting your child's birth mother and thinking ahead about your son's needs and how to balance those things and recognizing that both of those dilemmas are true for your family at one time. So let's start with a foundational premise that will serve you really well as this little guy grows. And that is that your child does not need you to have all the answers. What he does need is to know that his questions are welcome, his curiosity is safe with you, and that you will be there with him through the questions and the curiosity. When our kids are little, the best approach is always honest, straightforward, and smaller sentences, smaller concepts at one time. So when little questions come up along the way and he's still young, you can say things like, we don't have very much information about your birth family right now. Or, yes, you do have siblings and they're being raised in other families. Or, if and when we learn more, we will be sure to tell you everything we know. That kind of language grows as your child grows. And so you're going to start to layer additional information in and additional nuance to the fact that sometimes not knowing is where your family sits right now. So you could add in sentences like, well, sometimes adults need space, and that's not because of anything that you did. Or, I know it's confusing, but it's okay to be curious, and it's okay to be sad, and it's okay to be frustrated about not knowing and not having your curiosity satisfied. One of the most important things that you can do, Tabitha, is to get comfortable with saying, I don't know, but I'm here with you. Let's talk about the siblings for a little bit, because it sounded to me like that was a significant part of your question and your curiosity. So even if there's no contact or hope of contact and no information, it still will matter to your little guy as he grows to know that those siblings exist and that they are part of his life and part of his story. You don't have to make it heavy or dramatic. Just be very matter of fact and respectful. So you would say things like, I wonder if you and your brother have the same color brown eyes. You would start with very simple things that would include them into your son's life and into his consciousness. Again, that wonder language is a great way to start. You can talk about them around birthdays. You can talk about them around holidays. You can talk about them in reference to skills that your son is developing. I wonder if your brother runs as fast as you do. It's all about really including them in your child's story. Even if right now they are unseen and unknown, it's really important that you not minimize that relationship just because they are unseen and unknown. So some families will do it in kind of practical ways, like having a little birthday cupcake for a sibling when you know it's their birthday, or writing about them in your family's life book or in your child's life book, whatever you can do to hold space for those siblings and the fact that they exist, even if he's not in a tangible relationship with them across the course of his young life. These are gestures and intentions that you can do that send your son the message that his whole story includes them and it belongs in your home. Practically speaking, there are some things you can do with your little guy over the years and kind of form them into traditions or rituals that bind you all together if they continue to choose no contact or if information never comes from, say, the birth mother or extended family. And that would include, again, writing a letter to the child's family or to the child's birth parents on your child's birthday, making birthday cards for the siblings, making birthday cards for extended family members. You can also allow your child to take pictures from his point of view of his life and record little video messages and then store them for him so that he can access them whenever he feels the need to or when contact eventually maybe opens up. You can make holiday ornaments. You can save art from school projects. You can do at-home projects on a rainy day, save them all, have a special box where he knows that they are kept and why they are kept there. And then you can continue trying to reach out to the extended family, whether that's letters that you write and send to the agency. If you know the agency through which the other siblings were adopted, you can write to that agency. And you can make sure that they know that contact is always welcome on your side of things. It's hard, especially if you feel like you're kind of writing into the void and not getting responses back. But doing that and doing it with your child, again, sends that message that his whole story is welcome in this home. Another critical piece that will probably come later because he's just a baby now is that many adoptees eventually search and most often use social media to do that search. And interestingly, most adoptees start by searching for siblings. So instead of trying to control or avoid that search process and that eventuality that they'll be curious enough to want to search, we encourage parents to start talking about it very early. Again, laying a foundation of togetherness, welcome that their whole story belongs to him. His whole story belongs to him and it belongs in your family. And they need to know that they're not going to be doing it alone or facing any of that and that they don't have to do it in secret to protect you from anything. So you can start messaging things like a lot of adoptees get curious as they grow up. Are you ever curious? Or if you ever want to look for your birth family or your birth siblings or your extended family, I would be happy to talk about it with you and we can figure out how to do it together. It's really helpful for our kids to know that searches have different outcomes. And so again, that's something you can start messaging and talking about it just from your side of things. So I'd be happy to help you look. I don't know what will come of it, but I'd be happy to help you look if you want to look. And sometimes when we do look with our kids, people respond and sometimes they don't. And sometimes their responses or their lack of responses bring up really big feelings for our kids. And what matters most through all of this, the underlying theme through all of this is that your child needs to know that you are a safe place before, during, and after all of these big questions and big feelings and as they grow. So you're always messaging that their whole story belongs in your family and is a part of who they are, and that you are always with them and that they don't ever have to navigate any of this alone. That safety that we establish for them gives them the confidence that there's not parts of them missing, that it may play out differently, it may look differently than they had hoped, but that it's still all of who they are and it's all welcome here. Finally, I want to encourage you that even with very little information or a completely closed adoption that you didn't choose, you can still raise a child who feels supported and safe as their identity is developing. This happens when we make sure that our kids know that they can ask us even the hardest of questions. This can happen when we choose to be present with them through complex answers, lack of answers, or anything in between. It can also happen when we choose age-appropriate honesty, a spirit of openness and welcome. And it can happen when we make it clear that no question is off the table, no part of their story is off limits, and no feeling is unacceptable. So it is some intentionality on your part. It is a spirit and an intention that you carry with you through all of these nuanced conversations, and you just keep adding layers as they grow and as you grow and you get comfortable. And so we want to say thanks for this question. It's complex and it's sometimes challenging to navigate, but we appreciate you asking the question and sharing your family's story with us. I hope this information helps. I hope it gives you kind of like a grounding point to start the talking and the training and the right now, while he's really little, it's mostly training yourself. And if you want to be part of a community where other parents are navigating these same things, I highly recommend our Facebook group. You can find it at facebook.com/groups/creating-a-family. And we've got lots of hot topics and great conversations going on there that will help you navigate some of these things, Tabitha. Listeners, if this resonated with you, again, we would love to hear from you. So you can leave a comment or a rating or a review at the response button in your podcast player, or send your thoughts to info@creatingafamily.org with Weekend Wisdom in the subject line. And if you're asking a question when you do that, we'll try and get it on into our queue for another Weekend Wisdom episode coming up. So thanks for being here today. Thanks again, Tabitha, for asking your follow-up question. And I look forward to seeing you and talking with you next week.